since Haikuku brought this up, I'm going to show to you something that you may not be able to see for very much longer. You see, I've put a sticker on the front of there because the symbol on the front of that book got 4 of my comrades arrested for hate crimes. Now, if you look at the title of this book, it says Zionism, a racist, anti-Semitic and reactionary tool of imperialism. So what is it this book is trying to do? Number one, it's a history book. Information. All information which is already in the public domain. We didn't make any of it up. We just pulled it together to create a brief overview of the available evidence, an accessible narrative for people who don't have time to go and do big investigations for themselves, right? It's a small book. All historically accurate information. It's a history book. It's also a call to arms against racism. Against racism, against supremacy. But our people were arrested on crimes, on charges of hate crimes, of anti-Semitism, for questioning Zionism. This is the narrative of our ruling class. This is the way they use their control of the media to warp reality and twist our brains. This is how they can put Julian Assange inside there and turn justice system on its head, where the criminals investigate the innocent man and the stenographers for power report it as if it's a meaningful process and repeat what they're told to repeat in the order of importance that they're given by the press office at Downing Street or in the High Court or wherever the press release is being issued from. This is how our minds are controlled. And the more that our rulers and their system decay and become separate from the people, the more their words lose connection with reality. They say one thing, but they mean the opposite. You know, I grew up all my life with horror stories about communism and how awful it was and how, well, this might not be the best system, but it's better than the alternative because what they have is so horrendous. And now you realize all the stories they scared us with about Big Brother watching you was projection. We received their information and believed in it because it's what we expect from a state, to abuse its people and lock them up and persecute them and scare them and bombard them with lies. That all made sense to us because that's the reality of the world we live in. It's not the truth about socialism and communism, it's the truth about capitalism and imperialism. And it lands with us because we're primed to receive it because of the way that we live. And the dystopia we are living in right now, they scare us with the idea there's something worse around the corner. Don't agitate, don't organize, don't try and change the world. What you'll get will be worse. Total crap. It is bullshit, but it lands with us because we live in fear right now. And actually, they are projecting on us their crimes. When they told us horrific lies about the so-called crimes of the Libyan government, the so-called crimes of Colonel Gaddafi in Libya, it was total projection of the way they behave around the world. Colonel Gaddafi was a hero in the Middle East, in Africa. They murdered him for standing up to them. They told horrendous, disgusting lies about him and his people to prime us for not opposing their war to destroy Libya. And look at what happened to the world since they destroyed Libya. The most terrible crime, not just against Libya, against the peoples of the world. Against the peoples of the world, that crime. And we should remember also the important lesson for the workers of this country from that war was what our anti-war movement was doing in the Libya war. Because it tells you everything you need to know about what a controlled opposition looks like. They organized demonstrations against Libya. They repeated all the lies that the bourgeois press was telling about Colonel Gaddafi in their own propaganda. They said, yes, it's true. Colonel Gaddafi's killing his own people. It wasn't true. There was no reason to say it was true. They repeated it. They said, yes, it's true. The people of Libya want to get rid of Colonel Gaddafi. That wasn't true. There was no evidence for saying that. There was no reason to say that. There was a massive propaganda campaign of lies, like there's been against Julian. What are we told about Julian? He did this, he did that. He put some people in America at risk. He raped some girls. They come up with horrible crimes against him. Why? To keep us away from finding out the truth for ourselves, to make us feel that even asking a question makes us questionable. That's how they control the narrative. They make their propaganda so hysterical that to even start to question it makes you look as if you might sympathize with the horrible things they're saying. Remember what they said on the 8th of October, that what they said Hamas had done. They don't say Palestinian resistance, they say Hamas. Why? Because they've labeled Hamas terrorist and they've banned Hamas. So if you talk about Palestine now, you're supporting Hamas, and Hamas is banned, so you're a terrorist. I've had members of my organization arrested under terrorism charges, their homes raided by armed police in the middle of the night. Why? Because we handed out a leaflet in support of the Palestinian people's right to resist. Their right to resist, enshrined in international law, agreed on by multiple United Nations resolutions. Why is this shocking? There's nothing shocking about it. Why are we being targeted for saying what we've said for 20 years? Because the ruling class fears that at this moment, when people are looking at and thinking about Palestine, there's a possibility that a message they didn't mind us saying when no one was listening might be listened to by a movement that's growing and becoming interested and activated and awoken. A load of people are waking up, and your ruling class wants to stop the people who are waking up from connecting with the people who've got something to tell them. Because there is where the danger lies. And that's what this issue of free speech is all about. They don't mind me saying all the things I've been saying for 30 years, as long as no one can hear me. That's fine. But they do mind if there's a big audience, and that audience is growing and is connected and might decide to start moving. Then they're worried. Julian threatened the status quo, not just because he revealed the crimes of imperialism. People have been doing that as long as imperialism has existed. But he did it on a platform that had mass awareness. He did it in a way that many, many people found out, and those crimes couldn't be denied. And the proof went round the world. And now it can't, the genie's out of the box and it can't be put back in. Everybody knows that when they lied us into war in Iraq, every single thing they told us to get us into that war was a lie. Not only that, we know that when they told those lies, they knew they were lies. You know, I'm old enough, I remember when we were being lied into Iraq and how big the movement was against that and how comfortable the ruling class felt to ignore the anti-war movement. Why? Because the leadership of the anti-war movement said this to the 2 million people on the streets. They went, well done everyone for coming out, you've made history. How do we make history? You've made the biggest march ever. Well done, see you next time. What could they have done? What could they have said? 2 million people ready to take their orders? Imagine if they'd have been prepared to use that power. The ruling class knew they weren't going to. So they were happy. They sent the bombers the other way while we were marching through the streets of London on a Saturday, upsetting nobody, stopping nothing. What they didn't say to us was, let's go down to the city, barricade the stock exchange, let's go to Parliament and Whitehall and barricade the offices where all these orders are being taken and carried out. Let's go to Northcote and stop the planes taking off. They could have done that. That might have given the ruling class pause. That might have made them feel that they had to stop and think again about their war. This marching up and down is one thing, but we've got to work out what to do with that power once we've started to organise it. And this is something that the misleaders of our movement are not prepared to tell us. And the fear, the punishment beating that's being given to Julian Assange reflects the ruling class understands what workers have not yet woken up to, that the real power in this country is in our hands. We have to organise to use it, but we have it. They can't commit their crimes without our cooperation, and this is the message we need to take back to all our trade unions, to our schools, to our communities. If we organise to refuse to cooperate, there is nothing they can do. They don't fight the wars, they don't make the bombs, they don't even transmit the lies. They don't know how to do any of the jobs. They give the orders and we follow them. If we refuse to follow the orders, they can't do anything. And this is the understanding that needs to be awoken in people.